If you always agree with the crowd, then you are probably living the life that other people want you to live. There is a type of thinking that only truly intelligent people can do. Independence and courage to use, and that is, reverse thinking. In today's video, we will embark on a profound journey, where you will discover how reverse thinking has helped ordinary people create extraordinary results. This is not just a video, it is a window for you to see life through a completely different lens. Put on your headphones, relax, and join me in discovering the true power of reverse thinking, starting now. Part 1, the story of billionaire Charlie Munger's comeback and the lesson of reverse thinking. Close your eyes for a few seconds, and imagine you are a young student, with nothing in your hands but a pencil, a few old books, and a strong belief: I will not live my life like the majority. Charlie Munger, a skinny guy with bright eyes and a sharp gaze, started his life like that. Born during the Great Depression in Omaha, Nebraska, the same hometown as Warren Buffett, Charlie wasn't destined to become one of the world's greatest financial minds. In fact, he started his career as a supermarket salesman. No prestigious college degree, no connections, no money to back him up. But he had something that almost no one else had: inversion, the ability to think against the grain. At a time when everyone was rushing to the stock market, making money by buying fast and selling early, Charlie sat down. He read. He thought. He observed. One day, his longtime friend Warren Buffett asked, "Charlie, why don't you ever act like other people?" Charlie just smiled. "Because the majority is wrong. And if I do the same as them, I will be wrong too." The answer may sound simple, but it is a whole philosophy of life. To be exceptionally successful, you must think in the opposite direction. So, what is reverse thinking? And why is it so powerful? In a private conversation at Harvard, Charlie once shared a philosophy that was later taken to heart by the entire investment world. Most people always ask, how to succeed. I ask, how to fail. And then avoid all of them. This is the foundation of inversion thinking, not just focusing on the answer, but focusing on asking the opposite question. While the majority asked, how to make a lot of money, then Charlie asked, what makes people lose money the fastest? While the crowd rushed into hot stocks and rising real estate prices, Charlie quietly bought businesses that were forgotten by the market, simply because he knew that everything of value needed time to be recognized. His most famous story of reverse thinking is when he invested in See's Candies, a small candy company in California. At the time, no one believed the company could thrive. Sales were steady but slow. The airline industry was lucrative, and competitors were swarming from all sides. But Charlie saw something that others overlooked: customer loyalty. He told Buffett, "See, every Valentine's Day, thousands of people line up just to buy this one candy. It's not a product, it's a feeling. And feelings can't be copied." And it was. Just a few years later, See's Candies became the first money-printing machine in the Berkshire Hathaway empire, bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars in profits. So what is the lesson here? Thinking contrary does not mean opposing the majority because you like to be contrary. It means you are brave enough to look at the problem from a completely different angle, and patient enough to take the path no one chooses. Charlie Munger once said, "Show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome." Most people only see the surface, the profits, the fame, the attention. Charlie looks at the opposite, the risks, the incentives, and the long-term consequences. From Charlie Munger's story, we understand that reverse thinking is not only an investment philosophy, but also a way of life. But how can reverse thinking help you make better decisions in everyday life? Come to part 2, why does reverse thinking help you make better decisions than the majority? Part 2, why does reverse thinking help you make better decisions than the majority? In the middle of a crowded New York avenue, where people walk like machines, hurried, urgent, and full of pressure, there is an old man walking very slowly, hands in his pockets. eyes looking up at the sky. A young man approached and asked, "Sir, why is everyone walking so fast while you are so leisurely?" The old man replied, "Because if you go fast in the wrong direction, the faster you go, the further you get from your destination." That statement hits home like a hammer, and it's the focus of today's part 2. Inversion helps you make the right decisions by avoiding mistakes in the first place. Usually, when faced with a difficult choice, what do? Would you sit down, make a list of pros and cons, and choose the option with more advantages? Or would you seek advice from someone with experience? All of that makes sense, but there is a much more powerful approach. Think backwards to cause. Instead of asking, how to have a fulfilling life, you ask, people who live with regrets at the end of their lives, what did they do wrong? You will be surprised to discover, wisdom does not come from having more choices, but from eliminating the wrong choices. A study by Professor Daniel Kahneman, the father of behavioral economics, has shown that people often make decisions not based on reason, but on momentary emotions. And it is that emotion that makes us think alike, act alike, and fail alike. Reverse thinking helps you separate yourself from the crowd. When others act out of fear of missing out, FOMO, you sit down and ask yourself, if I don't do this, will I really lose anything? When you get caught up in the sensational headlines, invest now before it's too late. Trend is about to explode. Stop and ask yourself, who benefits when I believe this? Inversion is a mirror that reflects the naked truth. It doesn't feel good, but it does make you wise. In finance, top professionals often fail to ask, how much can I earn? They asked, how much can I lose if I am wrong? In relationships, people who are happy in the long run don't just ask, how to keep love? They asked, what behaviors kill trust? And in startups, instead of dreaming of a $1 million idea, successful founders often ask themselves, what makes startups die the soonest? Inversion helps you defeat complacency because it forces you to look at your own risks, blind spots, and even your own arrogance. It's like a flashlight in the dark, not enough to see the whole picture, but enough to keep you from falling off a cliff. Inversion thinking has helped Charlie Munger become great, helping us avoid mistakes and see clearly the nature of the problem. But the question is, how to practice inversion thinking in today's modern life full of pressure, distraction and noisy information? Come to part 3, 4 ways to practice reverse thinking to improve your thinking and actions every day. Part 3, how to practice reverse thinking, the way to make sure no one can manipulate you. In a world where everyone is in a rush to be like everyone else, those who dare to think differently, dare to go against the flow, are not eccentric. They are free. Reverse thinking is not just a technique or a trick. It is a way of life. An invisible but extremely powerful defense system against the waves of media, public opinion, and risky flowery invitations. And if you're wondering, how do you practice reverse thinking in a world increasingly manipulated by social media, AI, and mass psychology? Then it's time to let you in on a secret. Something no school will teach you, no textbook will spell out. I once knew a man who was a financial advisor to many big businessmen. But he had a strange habit. Every day, before making any investment decision, he wrote down the question, if I wanted to go bankrupt quickly, what should I do? It sounds crazy, but you know what? It was this way of asking the opposite question that helped him avoid many fatal mistakes that others made. Instead of chasing opportunities, he proactively avoided traps. Instead of being swept away by the crowd, he stood back and observed. Reverse thinking starts with strange questions like these. And you can start today, by questioning everything you think is true. For example, instead of asking, how can I be liked? Try asking, what behaviors make people dislike me the most? This will help you see more clearly what you're doing every day without even realizing it. Or instead of asking, where should I invest? Ask, what could cost me everything? Am I repeating the mistakes of others without realizing it? You see, it is the active thinking against the current that gives you so much clarity. It is like you are walking on a road in a thick fog. And each counter question is a step forward that gradually clears the fog. And there's a simple but powerful way to practice this habit: keep a paradoxical thinking journal. Every night, for just a few minutes, write down situations during the day where you find yourself acting like the majority, and ask yourself, if I had thought differently, would the outcome have been different? Over time, you'll find yourself becoming more sensitive to the unconscious thought patterns that control so many of the decisions in your life. But what's the most special thing? It's when you start learning from those who have failed. That's right. While everyone only looks at successful people to learn, reverse thinking advises you, observe those who have failed. Because successful people often don't know why they succeed. But those who have failed, they remember very clearly where they went wrong. When you read the biographies of bankrupt businessmen, fallen politicians, or companies that were empires but then fell apart, you will learn real lessons. Hard-won lessons that no book can teach. That is when you practice your upstream eye, the eye that is not blinded by the flashy exterior. Reverse thinking is a mirror that reflects back to you. A filter that keeps you from being seduced by the outside noise. It helps you stay alert, make thoughtful decisions, and most importantly, not let anyone manipulate you. And if you've made it this far, if you've begun to practice looking backwards, thinking differently, asking the opposite questions, then congratulations. You're becoming one of the very few people in the world who can defend themselves intellectually. But one last thing. A very important thing: what happens if not just an individual, but an organization, an entire country, lacks reverse thinking? How do they make decisions? How do they face crises? We will explore that in the final part, Part 4, when the whole world lacks reverse thinking, what is the price to pay? Part 4, when the world lacks reverse thinking, what is the price to pay? Imagine a ship in the middle of the ocean, surrounded by thick fog. And all the sailors on board are looking in the same direction. No one asks questions. No one doubts the compass. No one turns to check the wind or the currents behind them. They just keep going, until they hit an iceberg, and all they can say is, "Why did this happen?" That's what happens when a society, a group, or even the world, stops thinking backwards. Remember the 2008 financial crisis? All the so-called smartest people on Wall Street, the biggest banks, the top financial experts, they were all going in the same direction. They believed in the same models, invested in the same assets, and were blind to risk. No one asked, what if it all goes wrong? They called it consensus. But really, it was intellectual laziness. Or look back at the COVID-19 pandemic. In the early days, many governments and health organizations were slow to react. Why? Because the everything is fine mindset was ingrained in the system. No one was brave enough to go against that safe line of thinking. And the price was millions of lives lost. The global economy paralyzed. And children lost to social distancing. Reverse thinking is not just for an individual to protect himself. It is a weapon of survival for an entire system. When an organization no longer has critics, when a government does not accept dissenting voices, when a community only seeks consensus and ignores criticism, collapse is only a matter of time. You see, the greatest empires in history, from Rome to East Asia, had one thing in common: when they collapsed, they lost the ability to question themselves. Warnings were silenced. Different thinking was dismissed. And so they went on, until it was too late. But there is a ray of hope. A ray that anyone can awaken, from within themselves. It only takes one person in the room to dare to ask the opposite question. It only takes one student to question the textbook. It only takes one employee to dare to suggest a different way of doing things. It only takes you, listening to this video, to dare to look at a commonly held view and ask, is this really true? You have lit a fire. And if many people light a fire, we can change not only our own destiny, but also our community, our country, our future. Inverted thinking doesn't make you weird. It makes you awake. Inversion doesn't make you a contrarian. It makes you an empowered person. And reverse thinking, if practiced by enough people, will be the best vaccine against all manipulations, crises, and deceptions of the digital age. Dear friend, if you have heard this far, you are no longer an ordinary person. You are a seeker of truth in a noisy world. A person willing to think differently, to live freely. Please help spread this idea. Please like the video if you find it valuable. Please comment to let me know, how have you ever thought the opposite and how did it help you? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, to build together a community of awareness, criticism, and no one can manipulate. Please share this video with a friend, someone you believe needs to wake up, because sometimes, just one story can change your life.